Some houses are not built from bricks and wood. They are prisons of pain, regret, and restless souls. And once you step inside, you either change forever, or you never leave at all. In the darkness of the night, Cameron ran to an abandoned mansion. He thought he was safe from the police. But inside, a rotting corpse and old letters were waiting. Was this house his refuge, or his grave? Some doors are not made of wood. They are made of secrets. Inside Woodland Hills, a father's restless spirit wandered. When Cameron entered, the screams awoke. And now, a stranger must fulfill his final wish. A fugitive. An old mansion. And a decaying corpse. Beside it, letters telling the story of a father's regret. As Cameron read, his own wounds began to bleed again. Would this bond save him, or destroy him? A silent forest night. Creaking floors. Shrieking windows. Cameron thought it was just an old house. But the moment he began to read the letters, the darkness claimed him. Some promises do not die with death. A father wrote letters to his son, but never sent them. Now a stranger is reading them. And the restless spirit demands an answer. Escaping from the law, Cameron found himself at the edge of another sentence. Every letter near the corpse touched his soul. Was this the end, or the beginning? Every wall was damp. Every room was silent. But this silence was not ordinary. It was the silence of graves. Cameron thought he was alone. But something walked beside him. In the middle of the forest stood the forgotten Woodland Hills house. People abandoned it long ago. But its rooms still held secrets. And now, a stranger was chosen to carry them. The letters by the corpse told a story. Of a father's regret and a son's absence. Cameron felt the pain as if it were his own. Was this connection fate, or a curse? When candles light on their own. When doors slam shut. When words of blood appear on the walls. You are not alone. Cameron knew that now. This is not just a fugitive story. It is the story of an ending no one can escape. The darkness of Woodland Hills chose Cameron. Now he was no longer a stranger. He was a prisoner of a promise. When you think you are hiding, maybe you are already trapped. That's what happened to Cameron. This house became his destiny. Sometimes strangers open doors that should never be opened. In Cameron's hands were the letters that a spirit had been crying for across decades. Rain. Night. An abandoned mansion. Cameron thought it was a refuge. But it was a trap with no escape. Every shadow grew heavier. This house was not empty. It was alive. Every room hid a secret. And Cameron became a prisoner of those secrets. There was no way back. Some letters don't bring peace. They awaken the dead. For Cameron, this was the truth. Those letters became his fate. The shrieking windows, the broken floors. Every step carried fear. But the real horror began when the shadow moved closer. This is not just a story of fear. It is a story of redemption. A father's message. A son's silence. And a stranger chosen by destiny. Could he carry the weight? He escaped the sirens of the police, only to fall into the sirens of the dead. Now Cameron faced two paths. Fulfill the promise, or vanish into the dark. Every letter was a wound. Every word was a scream. This was not just the past. It became his own soul. Cameron was now a prisoner. The darkness of this house had waited for years. Waited for a son. Waited for an answer. And fate brought Cameron to its door. Now he must decide everything. When you think these are only walls, they remind you or they are alive. Woodland Hills house was the same. And Cameron was already trapped inside its jaws. Regret is poison, it never dies. A father's regret still lived in his letters. Cameron read them, and his own wounds bled again. Was this healing, or punishment? This story is not just horror, it is emotion. Where even death cannot break bonds. And a stranger is forced to become part of them. This is the truth of Woodland Hills. When doors slam shut and voices grow louder. When shadows creep closer and candles flicker. It means the spirit is calling you. Cameron had already heard the call. This house didn't just hold shadows. It held a promise. And Cameron was the one chosen to fulfill it. No matter the cost. Some secrets are not written in books. Some are locked inside houses. Woodland Hills was such a secret. And Cameron had opened its door. Sometimes refuge leads you closer to death. Cameron realized this truth too late. When the darkness swallowed him whole. This is not just the story of a stranger. It is the scream of a spirit locked for decades. And a promise yet to be fulfilled. Do you dare to listen? In the darkness of Woodland Hills, a promise was buried. A corpse, a letter, and a stranger, tied by fate. This is not just horror, but salvation. And salvation never comes easy.